Imagine if you went from feeling fine every day to feeling amazing. How would your life be different? Everyone has the ability to feel amazing again and again. You just need the right tools to get there. If you're ready to feel amazing, stick around. Now, here's the host of the I'm Not Fine show with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode on the I'm Not Fine show on the Inspired Choices Network. Today, we are going to have another amazing conversation, another amazing show about order, structure, and discipline, and how this evolves over into so many areas of our lives. This is not just about how it evolves into your health, although that's a big thing that I'm going to be talking about today. But I'm going to back it up a bit today and really share about how this comes from my background and how what I was taught growing up Amish and how that led that structure and all of the things that I learned there, which took me a long time to learn and understand, is that's what it taught me, and how that's now transferring over to my life now. Before we go there, if you have not grabbed a copy of my book, Escaping My Reflection, on lizzieens.com, please go there, grab it. I'll send you out an autographed version of this, or you can also go on Amazon and get the Kindle version for like $4. Or if you're in another country and you're not in the US and you want to be able to receive it through Amazon, you can go in there, order it. It'll come straight to your door, and you can read about my story of escaping the Amish community and what it was like living there, and then moving forward into the world, the brand new world now, and what that whole process was like. So if you haven't grabbed that, please do so. Secondly, if you are in a place of being stuck in your health, literally had this conversation with a person this morning that did a consultation with me, and she's just talking about how she has tried all these things with doctors and done tests, and not only that, there's a lot of noise out there in the health community. Everybody's saying, do this, do that, take this supplement, do that. And she's like, I need to figure out how to block out the noise, get someone that will actually help me, do the proper testing, really look at her as a bio individual, and then help her and tell her what she needs to do in order to heal her body and feel better. So she's going to be working with me. But I want to let you know that if you are in a similar place where you just feel like exactly like that, and you're not getting the help, and you're like, I don't feel fine, but they're telling me I'm fine, please grab the link in the show notes and book a consultation with me. Let's see what's going on and how I can help you. You can also email me at lizzie@undietyourself.live if you have any questions for me. Okay. We're going to dive into today's show and talk a little bit about, or a lot of bit about, order, structure, and discipline. We're going to start with order first, because that's how things kind of translate and come into order. They don't all just like fall into one category. We're going to kind of like deconstruct these three things, but then bring it all together in the end, and you'll see how they cohesively, are stacked, but they do flow. So one of the things that happened for me, not to me, but for me, was that I grew up in this Amish community, and it taught me a lot of things. Taught me a lot of things that today's society wishes they would be able to learn or know. Now, it's been 19 years since I was there, and I grew up in the strictest form of the Amish community, and it was hard, especially if you are someone that feels like the oddball and you're always questioning things, and you're like, I don't understand why we're doing the things that we are doing. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. And if you are someone that's like an entrepreneur, or you have that spirit of needing to know more, or understand things better, you're probably going to feel like the black sheep of the family, because you're going to be the one that's causing the most trouble, because you're going to be the one that's questioning things, and you're not supposed to question things. Like, I'm a little Amish girl that's questioning things when I shouldn't be questioning things. The women are supposed to, just kind of put their head down, shut up and do their work and have babies and garden and sew and cook the meals. That's what they're kind of supposed to be doing. I wasn't that person. I caused a lot of trouble, and I asked a lot of questions, and I needed to know why they believed the things that they believed and why they did the things that they did. And it made me the black sheep of the family. It made me get into trouble with things that I wasn't even, the problem. I was blamed for things that weren't even, my issue. I didn't cause the trouble, but I was blamed for it because I was the black sheep, and I did cause a lot of trouble, but I also got in trouble when it wasn't meant for me to be in trouble. So a while ago, last month, actually, my mentor had me do a 72-hour water fast. So all I did was drink water for 72 hours. And I'm going to do it again. I was going to do it this week, but it didn't happen. But I did the 72-hour water fast. Now, I did not do this for the purpose of weight loss or anything like that. This was a spiritual journey. It was an internal spiritual journey, and I needed to go in there and bring some things out and figure some things out that sometimes we can't do when we're in the mundaneness of doing our day-to-day things. And we can't, we're just kind of like going with the flow and everything. But if we do things that are uncomfortable and out of the norm, that discomfort is where we're going to learn the things, or we should learn the things. So here's the other thing that can happen. And I see there's two different things that happen in discomfort. I see this all the time. When we are uncomfortable, we are either going to go, okay, what do I need to learn from this? What is my lesson here? And how is this going to help me grow? The second part of discomfort is you're going to whine and complain and be like, I don't want to do this. And you're going to resist. So there's lots of resistance that can happen when you are in the discomfort. But if you're resisting the discomfort, you're not going to learn what you need to learn in that discomfort. So you have to get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. I was having a conversation with my brother the other week, and we're talking about entrepreneurship and, doing all kinds of crazy things. And he goes, Lizzie, you really have gotten comfortable being uncomfortable. I'm like, yes, that's what it takes. You have to get comfortable being uncomfortable if you want to grow, because I've learned for so many years now that the discomfort is where I learn and grow and go to the next stage that I want to go to. When I did this fast, I had to go internal. I had to allow myself to feel things I didn't want to feel, but I had to feel it. So I had to be in the moment of feeling it. It also forced me to slow things down because I got really, really tired because I was not having my coffee that I so belovedly love in the morning. Not because of the caffeine necessarily, but because I love the taste. But the caffeine is doing something because it wakes me up. During that time that I did that, after the fact, my mentor asks me, Lizzie, what did you learn during this fast that relates back to where you grew up and how you grew up? And it took me 2 seconds. And I said, oh, that's easy. I learned order, structure, and discipline are what I learned when I was growing up. And that you need in order to do a 72-hour fast where you're only drinking water and having some minerals and Himalayan salt to keep your electrolytes up. But that's what it took. And he was like, bingo. So where we grew up, how we grew up, what we were taught, was never by mistake. There's always a reason why we grow up or are born into the family that we are, because that's not a mistake. But where a lot of people miss the key component to this is, what is it that we were supposed to learn during that time when we were growing up? And how do we take that and take it into our adult life to do what we're meant to be doing, to be on this mission of the greater good, to help change other people's lives? So I went back and I thought about, okay, how did we have order? And we had a lot of order. There's different variations of order within the Amish church. So one version of order is they have order within the church and the rules and the regulations and the things that you can and can't do. Literally, they have 2 times a year, every spring and every fall, they have a church Sunday dedicated to only the members of the church. And when they do that church service, they take, I don't know, the church is like 5 or 6 hours long. I can't remember for sure. But at some point during that church sermon, they will take an hour or 2, I believe, to go over all the rules of the church. Here's what you can dress like. Here's how you're supposed to put your pins in. Here's how wide the brim of the guys' hats need to, like, they literally go through the entire list. So that's a form of order that they have. We also had order at home. Now, if you want to go a little bit deeper on the whole rule thing, like, that's also a control thing, but we're not going there today. I'm just sharing with you what that order looked like they had that order. Another form of order we had is at home. So I lived on a farm and, had 18 siblings. My parents bought that farm when the kids were real little. And so every morning around the same time, it was expected of us. Like, I still remember, well, my dad, he passed away when I was 13. So when he was still there, he would do this as well. But then after that, my mom would do it. Every morning around 5 or 5:30, the door to the upstairs where most of the kids were sleeping, the door would open and they would call out the names of all the kids that were sleeping to wake them up. And they would call your name until you answered. So that was our alarm clock, because we didn't have alarm clocks. So our parents were our alarm clocks. So they would wake us up. Then we would get up, and it was just expected. We would get up and we would go milk the cows and then feed the chickens. And then after that morning chores was done, we would come in and have all sit down at the same table, all 19 or 20 of us, and have breakfast together. That was the structure. Then after that, we would go about our day, depending on what we were doing on a farm, whether it was cooking or cleaning or canning or preserving or sewing or quilting, or whatever it was, we would go about the day to do that. And then everybody at lunch would get together. Everybody came in together at lunch, and we all had lunch together. And then after lunch, we would have a short little nap and then go back to work. And then at dinner time, everybody came back in together and all sat at the table again, had dinner. After dinner, we would go milk the cows again and feed the animals and take care of the chickens and all of those things. And then usually there was some after chores, evening things that we would do, whether it was gardening or whatever we were doing to finish up the day. And then we would all come together after that, have like an evening prayer moment, and then we go to bed. That was the structure of today. That structure is what brought the expectation of how the day should go. That is a huge missing piece that a lot of people have in the modern world, because we have so much technology, We have so many things that are grabbing: advertising, social media, emails, text messages. We have so many things that are grabbing for our attention that the structure goes out the window. We are going to go to our first break here. And when we come back, we're going to continue to talk about, okay, structure. What was discipline like after that? Order, structure, and discipline. So that was order. And then the order part of it creates a structure. So we had all of that. And then the discipline is attached to that as well. So when we come back from break, we're going to keep diving into this. I'm going to share more about what it was like to grow up Amish with those things, and then how that translates over into today's world, how I use that in my life now, and then what you can do to create that, because this is something that I teach my clients. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. I'm Lizzie Ens on the I'm Not Fine show.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone, to the I'm Not Fine show. My name is Lizzie Ens, and we are on the Inspired Choices Network. If you are listening to this show, I want you to do me a favor and go into the ratings section and give us a 5-star review and let us know what you like about the show and how you feel. Share it with your friends. You can listen to this on the Inspired Choices Network app. You can listen to it on Apple, Spotify, Audible, Roku, YouTube TV, all the platforms. Pick your favorite platform and go with it. Listen to it. We show up weekly, and then give us a review and let us know so that we boost the algorithm and we get it out to more people. Very, very important. And then share it with your family and friends, especially someone that you feel like needs to hear this message. That's what we're here for. Before we went to break, we were talking about order, and we went into structure just a little bit. And that's what the topic is today, is how can you create more order, structure, and discipline into your life, and how important that is if you want to be successful in your health journey, in your business, in your life, so that you're not feeling so incredibly chaotic. I see this with my clients all the time. They're like, I just not timing my meals. And listen, it's not about having rigidity around your meals. It's not necessarily about that. You got to have a little bit of flexibility, but if you don't have any kind of structure and order around your day and your goals, you're going to feel very all over the place. And sometimes that happens to me where I'm like, okay, I didn't plan my day out like I should have and have my calendar. Like typically my calendar is pretty set up where I'm like, okay, this is when I'm doing this. These are when my calls are. And it's just checklist, checklist, checklist. Now, occasionally, I will actually see myself kind of veering off of it when my calendar isn't as stacked, when things are not in there. Before we started this show today, I was having a conversation with a producer here, and I said, you got to show up to show up. And she started laughing, and she's like, that's actually really good. And I'm like, actually, it is really good. You got to show up to show up. So what I mean by that is you have to show up as yourself. You have to show up for you. You have to show up for your business. You have to show up for your health. Whatever it is that you are working on and that you want to accomplish, you got to show up. So if you want to feel, healthy, energetic, you want to be sleeping well, you want to have less brain fog, you want to have less bloat, like if you want to have all of those things, then you got to show up for it and do the things that you know that you need to do in order to help that. Now, we were talking about order a lot before we went to break, and now we're going to go into the structures. I want to kind of like show what I mean by the structure part of it. So I gave you kind of an outline of like what our day looked like. And that was an order, but it also translates over into the structure part of it. So without them really knowing that they were doing this, it created structure in their day. So order is like laying out the expectation, laying that out and saying, okay, this is the order, and we have order, so there's not chaos. And then the structure follows after that. So what is it that you need to structure in your life in order to feel less chaotic? Really, really important. And it's really hard to create structure if you don't have an expectation behind what it is that you're doing. If there's no purpose, if there's no passion, there's no expectation, the structure part, showing up for all of that can be really, really difficult. And then you find yourself just kind of like floating through the day and going, I'll do it when I do it. I actually did a poll on my Instagram story yesterday morning. And I talked a little bit about structuring the day or the week. Like, do you plan your week? Do you structure your week out? And a huge percentage of the poll, people were saying like they just wing it. They just wing their week and they don't plan it. And it was really eye-opening to see that, because it showed me like how many people are just kind of going day to day, week by week, and not really thinking about how they're structuring their week and what needs to get done. And that's why we can feel like we're in a rat race and this like little hamster wheel, because when we don't have any kind of structure and order around whatever it is that we're working on, that's what we end up feeling like. We're like, okay, I'm doing all these things. I'm busy being busy, but I'm not getting anywhere. And sometimes people have like a pride in saying like, I'm so busy, I don't have time. But the reality is what are you accomplishing in the busy time? Are you checking things off your list? Are you making yourself busy just to be busy, or are you being productive? Those are two different things. You can be busy and get nothing done that is really completed. You can also be busy and be able to check things off your list and complete the tasks if you do it right. And that comes by having structure and commitment of that follow through. The other thing that's attached to this is the discipline. So you can create order, you can create structure and say, hey, this is how I want my week and my days to look like, and create that skeleton structure of what you want it to look like. But if there's no discipline with it to follow through with the things that you know that you need to do in order to follow through with that structure, then the structure and the order aren't even going to matter, because the discipline and the follow through is what really, really matters, and is what is going to help you move forward and actually accomplish the goals that you have, and gets you moving in the right direction. There's something that I talked about a little while ago. I was doing this presentation in a networking group that I was a part of, and I shared with them this step-by-step process. I called it the secret sauce. And this all related back to like my decision in jumping off a 15-foot roof and running away and escaping from my family. And I thought about the process of that. Like, how was I able to do that and complete the mission, and then continue to move forward from there? The first thing that you have to do when there's something that you want to accomplish, or a goal that you have, let's say let's just talk about the health perspective right now. And if you're like, hey, I want to start feeling better, I want to have more energy, I want to get to the root cause of what is going on with my health, and then lose some weight in the process, you have to make a decision. So the first thing that we have to do is decide. We can say that we want to accomplish that for years and never get it done, because we didn't actually fully make the decision to do it. So when I was sitting on that 15-foot roof, deciding whether or not I'm going to jump off the roof, I had to make a decision that I was actually going to do it. I also had to make a decision that I was actually going to leave the Amish community. That was a decision that I had to make and come to. After I made the decision, then I had to commit. So after you make a decision and say, okay, I'm going to do this because I know that it's important, is what I want, then you have to commit to that decision. Commitment can mean, hey, you say it out loud or you share it with someone. Something that I like to do when I say that I'm going to do something, like I decide, when I decided that I was going to run a half marathon or run a full marathon, here's what I did. I told people that I decided that I was going to do it and that I was going to do it. And the reason that I did that is because I wanted other people to know that I said that I was going to do it and that I had a goal for it. Once I did that, I then committed to the process, because committing to that process was what took me to the next step. And telling other people that I was going to do it was part of the accountability of it, but it also helped me accountable to myself. After you commit, you just got to move forward and you just got to jump. So when I was sitting on that roof, I had committed to the decision, but then I still had to take action. And this is the step where a lot of people miss. And I say, just jump. You have to jump. You just have to say, okay, I'm doing this. And you take that leap of faith forward and you jump. That's what I had to do. Once you go through, hey, moving forward, now I've jumped, and now I'm going forward with this decision, and I'm working towards my goal and whatever it is that you want to accomplish, then you have to execute. You have to continue to execute from there. After you execute with all of that, then you have to follow through. You have to follow through with the plan. And this goes back to order, structure, and discipline. This is the disciplinary section of it. You have to follow through with the action steps that you have to do in order to keep moving forward. A lot of people get stuck in the follow through. And what I mean by follow through is typically the mundaneness of things is where people get caught up and where they stop. I literally had this conversation with a client yesterday, and we're going to get into that because after the break, because we're going to go into our next break. But when we come back, I'm going to share with you this conversation that I had And what happens to so many people when it comes to the follow through of things and the disciplinary of things, because that's the part where a lot of people get stuck in, and why they can't continue to move forward to the next step, because we're stuck in this little hamster wheel and can't continue to move forward because we get bored or we get distracted from whatever it is that we're allowing to distract, because it's uncomfortable or not exciting anymore. So we're going to go to our next break, but when we come back, we're going to continue to dive into this subject, and I'm going to share some analogies with you, and I'm going to make sure that at the end of this, I'm going to give you some tools and things that you need to do in order to create that structure in your life. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email becomeahost@inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. We are back on the I'm Not Fine show, and we are talking about order, structure, and discipline. Before we dive into that a little bit more, just a quick reminder on the book that I've been mentioning, a story, Escaping My Reflection. If you have not grabbed that, you may want to go grab that, or you can grab it on Amazon. You can get it on Kindle. You can get it on, if you are in another country, you can get it and have it shipped straight to you from Amazon. So I got a little tongue tight there. We are talking about order, structure, and discipline. And before we went to break, I was about to share with you about something a conversation that I had with a client of mine just yesterday, actually 2 of them. And this is something that I see happen all the time, because when you start something new, like a program, or you're working with someone, or maybe a new job, whatever it is that you are starting, could be a business, the beginning stage of that can be really, really exciting. And this is when it's really, really important to remember your why and why you're doing it in the first place, like your mission, like what's the mission behind it and why are you doing it in the first place. We're going to talk about the health aspect of that. People come to me all the time, and most people now that come to me, they just want to feel better. They also typically want to lose weight at some point, but losing weight isn't their number one priority. It becomes a byproduct of what we're going to be doing. But feeling better and having more energy and sleeping better, not having all the bloat, that's typically goal number 1. So the beginning of something like that can be super exciting because you're learning new things, and you get to change some things in your life and you start to feel better. Now, this is something that really has to be understood when it comes to your health. And this applies to so many other areas of our life, but we're talking about the health aspect of things today. The mundaneness of showing up every single week and every single day and every single month over and over and over is where the discipline part comes in. So whether you feel like doing it or not, you have to understand that showing up every day for yourself, every week for yourself, even if it's the same thing you did last week, but it made you feel good, that's where success lies. That's where you need to show up. But it is that mundaneness where so many people get stuck and they're like, oh, this is not exciting anymore. Do I really have to keep showing up and doing the things that I know I need to do in order to feel good and see the results that I want to see? It's such a pivotal moment. So it takes 21 days. You can do anything for 21 or 30 days. Most people can do anything like that. It takes 21 days at least to develop a habit. But it takes at least 90 days or longer to cement a habit in that sticks. So if you're going into a program and the first month, 3 to 4 weeks of the program, everything's like amazing and you're learning these new things and you're feeling good. And then you find yourself sort of like self-sabotaging or falling off because you keep doing the same thing over. If you find yourself doing that, then we know that there's more internal things that we need to work on. And there's something that we need to heal and help you work through, because you're going to keep coming back to the same things over and over and over. So self-sabotage is so, so real. This conversation that I had with a client yesterday was she's had amazing results, but then she got to a place, and I always know when this is happening, always. She got to a place where she started to self-sabotage and she started to get into a rut. So the mundaneness sometimes can feel like a rut, but it doesn't have to be a rut if you know that it is the thing that is going to help propel you forward and move you towards your goal. So you have to keep that in mind, because it's showing up every single day and every single week. And it doesn't mean that you don't switch things up. So for example, I like to cook and eat at home. Sometimes, and I'm kind of plain Jane, to be honest. Like I like my protein, my vegetables, my fruits, my complex carbs, and my healthy fats. It's not that exciting, but I like the food and I like how it makes me feel. Occasionally I'll get to a place where I'm like, this is pretty boring. I'm sick of it. I need to switch things up. So here's what I'll do. I'll either go out to eat and have some really exciting meal out to get kind of switch things up a bit, or I'll look for a recipe and make something completely different from normal. That helps me get out of the rut of things where I feel like I'm bored. I just need something that's new and exciting. Typically, when I do that, if I go out to eat or if I make a meal that is a little bit different and I got to create it, and because I love cooking, so creating a new recipe or a meal is comforting for me. So doing something like that brings excitement into the routine or the mundaneness of things, just switch things up a bit. And then after I do that, then I can go back to what I normally do and be completely fine. But it's the finding the excitement and the shifts within that mundaneness of showing up for yourself every single day that is very, very key. So this specific person was like, I feel like I'm self-sabotaging. Now, here's why some people self-sabotage as well. We do it with our finances. We do it with our health. We do it in relationships. Like we do it in so many things. Things could be going really, really good. You could say, let's take weight loss for an example. You could be losing 8 pounds a month. That's average. That's good. You're losing 2 pounds a week. That's healthy. And that's amazing. Losing 8 pounds a month, that's pretty amazing. And it's sustainable. You feel good, you have energy, and all of a sudden you're down, 15 pounds. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you feel good, and you feel good about yourself. If there are certain things that you have not dealt with and healed with internally, and you all of a sudden start self-sabotaging, and you're like, oh, this is boring, I don't want to keep doing this, and you want to go back to like what you were doing before, then we know that there are deeper things that we need to work on and heal from. Because if you start self-sabotaging, that means your why of why you're doing it is not big enough and it's not exciting enough. So you have to figure out, why are you doing it in the first place? Is it just because you want to look different, or is it because you want to feel better and you want to have longevity? Because those are two different things. So if someone comes to me and their number one goal is like, I just want to lose a bunch of weight, I don't care about anything else, I'm like, well, you're probably not the right client for me, because we go deeper than that. And it needs to be deeper than that, because here's why. If you don't have a bigger why than just losing weight, then you're going to stop when things get difficult. If you get bored, if life hits you in the back of the head and you're like, I don't want to cook for myself, I don't want to eat, healthy foods, I just want to go back to what I was doing before, because you're uncomfortable and you don't like being uncomfortable, and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to go back to what I was doing before because that's the known ground. That's what I know. And that's what feels good. It gives me a dopamine boost. Then we know that it's time to dig deeper, and you have to dig deeper. So here's what I told my client. I'm like, listen, this happens to a lot more people than you think. And one of the reasons why we self-sabotage also is if we don't feel like we're worthy of the success that we actually want. If we feel like we're not worth it or deserve it, or we don't see the value in it. So when it comes to your health, you want to see your health as the value of what you're putting into your body and the longevity of it. So if you're someone that's getting older and you're like, well, I don't really like working out, but I know that it's important, and you're looking at it from an aesthetic standpoint, you actually want to look at it from a longevity standpoint of preventing osteoporosis, preventing osteopenia, preventing diseases. When you think of things in the form of prevention and healing, then the purpose and the why become a different thing. And you can go deeper with that. But the discipline is what you need. The follow through is what you need in order to make that happen. Is it really that hard? I had someone tell me yesterday, she's like, I just make it way more difficult than what it needs to be. Simplicity. Simplicity is what you want things to look like, what you want things to feel like. It's not always as complicated as we think it needs to be. We like to overcomplicate things because we have all these noises in our head of like, no, you need to do this. You need to do this. Don't eat this. Eat that. It's very, very easy to get confused about what we should actually be doing. But what I like to teach you is we just need to keep it simple, go back to the basics of what the foundation of our health and nutrition should look like, what makes you feel good, because what makes me feel good is going to be different than you. So simplicity is key, but you can create order, structure, and discipline and still keep it super simple. There's just an expectation behind it. When you create this structure, there's an expectation behind what you need to do in order to make it successful. But simplicity with that is key. Okay, we are going to go to our next break. But when we come back, I'm going to give you some examples of what you need to be doing when it comes to your nutrition and your lifestyle of exercise, sleep, all of those things, so that you can create some kind of structure and have order within that, and then what you need to do in order to follow through. That is up to you. So don't go anywhere. I'm Lizzie Ens on the I'm Not Fine show. We'll be right back.
We often get used to just feeling fine instead of reaching to feel excellent or even good. Wellness is about feeling good, and that is a journey of continually coming back to what is nourishing and healing for us. Your body is functional and ever-changing, like a pendulum swinging. We must learn how to move with our bodies. Tuning into I'm Not Fine with functional nutrition coach Lizzie Ens will provide you with simple but effective tools that you can use right away, so you can go from feeling just fine to feeling amazing. Listen for I'm Not Fine on Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is I'm Not Fine with Lizzie Ens. To participate in the program, join the live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also send an email to Lizzie at undietyourself.live. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. We are on the tail end of this show today, where we are talking about order, structure, and discipline. Real quick, as you heard, you can email me at lizzie@undietyourself.live. If you have any questions or you need anything, you can also book a consultation with me. If you are at a place where you're like, I'm so confused about what I actually should do about my health, please book a consultation with me. Let's have a conversation. I have my one-on-one program. Currently, my group program is running, but I only run that one a couple times a year. And I run labs for people. So if you haven't been getting that help from the doctors, that's me. I'm your person. I stand in the gap between the patient and the doctor, and I get you some answers and get you feeling better. But not only that, I also get to hold your hand for a bit and coach you and guide you and mentor you and what you need to be doing in order to help your body heal. So we take a whole body perspective on things. And I want you to be aware of that, because this is not just a weight loss program that you come in with. You come in to really get to the root cause of your health issues and create a plan around that on what that should look like. And it's very individualized because we are bio individuals, and everybody's body is so different. And so that needs to look differently for everyone. Okay, we are getting back to the final steps of this show today. So we talked about order, we talked about structure, and we talked about discipline, where sometimes we get stuck. I talked a little bit about what it looked like at home. The discipline part of where I grew up is actually such a huge piece of it. And I really complement that into my life now today, because being able to leave the way that I left with $20 in my pocket, I had no social security number, I had no family, backing me up, supporting me. I had a high school I didn't have a high school education. I had an 8th grade education. Then I had to go get my GED and then continue to study beyond that. But it was the discipline through all of that that really got me to where I am today, where I was able to write a book, and I have my own business. And the discipline of showing up, when you have a passion and a mission and you know what it is that you're supposed to be doing, and you show up for that every single day, even on the days that you don't feel like it, because trust me, there are days that you don't feel like showing up. But it's the discipline behind it where it's like, okay, I know I don't feel like showing up today and I really don't want to, but I'm going to do it anyway, because the discipline part of that is what is actually going to get you there. I heard this clip that Mike Tyson said a while ago where he said, discipline is doing the things that you hate, but you do it like you love it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. Because so many times we avoid doing things that we don't like because it's uncomfortable and we're just like, I don't feel like doing it, so I'm not going to do it. But the reality is anybody that's successful in anything, whether it's sports, building an empire, like a business, having your health in order and feeling good and all that, the discipline is the biggest part of it. So you can have the order and the structure in place, but if you don't have discipline and follow through with it, it doesn't even matter. So you got to show up for yourself. So you got to show up to show up. You got to show up for yourself first, and then show up for the people in your life as well. And whatever your mission is, what does it look like to have order and structure in your health? You got to figure out, okay, this is what I want the structure of my day to look like with my meals. This is a piece that is so huge for so many of my clients, is like they don't have any structure around their meals and they're just kind of winging it. So first you got to figure out, what's your meal planning look like? Are you meal planning and making sure that you have the foods in the house that you need in the house? If you're not, there's no structure. And so you're just winging it. And by the end of the day, you're like, well, I'll just throw something together, or you order something in and it's probably like pizza or whatever, because it's something quick. But if you have a plan, if you have structure, and you know what you have in the house, and you know what you're planning on having for that night for dinner with your family, then you don't have to, run around trying to figure out what you're going to be having. And every time that I have my clients go through the step-by-step process of saying, okay, here's your 7-day meal plan, I'm not giving them the meal plan. I'm having them plan it out based on like what their family loves and what they like, but they have a template that they go through, and it's like, okay, Monday this, Tuesday this, Wednesday this, Thursday this, Friday eat out, or whatever other night they're like, I want to switch things up and eat out. They write things down and they plan on what they're going to be having those nights or those days. And as soon as they do that for like a week or two, it creates peace and it creates structure, because now they know exactly what to expect. And every time they do that, they start seeing better results because there's that consistency. So whenever they sort of like get out of the rhythm of things, let's say they went on vacation or they had an event and they come back and things are kind of like, they're like, oh, I'm just not like feeling on top of things. I have them go back to the basics and I say, okay, what changed? Did you change the structure of how you're doing things? Are you planning things? And if they're not planning things anymore and they don't have that structure in place, I tell them, go back to the basics. Go create that structure again. And as soon as they do that, they feel empowered. This is how you feel empowered in what it is that you're doing. So that structure is what's going to help you feel empowered. Structure makes you feel empowered. The follow through makes you feel empowered too, makes you feel equipped, makes you proud of yourself. So make sure you have that structure in place. The same thing with your exercise. You want to make sure that you plan out what days you're going to be working out, and it's a non-negotiable. So if it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you make that a non-negotiable. If it's Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you make that a non-negotiable. And you follow through with that. You commit to what it is that you said that you were going to do, and then you follow through with it. There's no maybe, there's a I will. So by the end of the week, you have completed it. That is what you should be working on. And that's how you want to think when you're creating that structure. You want to create that structure, and then you want to do the follow through with the discipline behind it. And that is what is going to make you feel empowered. And it's what is going to help you become successful. But remember, it's the mundaneness of it all. All right, you guys, I hope this show was absolutely phenomenal. I'm Lizzie Ens on the I'm Not Fine show. We'll be back next week.
Thank you for listening to the I'm Not Fine show. Lizzie Ens returns Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, and 10 a.m. Pacific Time on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Until then, have the best week of your life by making choices that take you from feeling fine to feeling amazing.